All right.
Crazy.
L- What's that?
Said, oh my, that's a lot of bodies.
Uh, I always know. I never know how hard I should go on like the corpse clutter whenever I do a map like this, because like technically that's probably not enough, but I think it's like the right visual amount.
Hmm.
You know, if you put too many bodies, then it's just distracting. It has to be enough to where it's like noticeable, but not so much that it just takes away from whatever else is going on. But last week you all arrived in the holy city of El Terrell, by request of Older Ravengard, one of the four dukes of Baldur's Gate. You accompanied him there and arrived on the eve before the 50th anniversary of the Companion, the holy artificial sun that resided hovering above the city of Elturel, casting the lands of Eltergard in its holy light. Um, on the day of the celebrations, Older Ravengard spoke to some of the people of El Terrell, declaring that he had come to visit the city in the absence of their high overseer, um, to speak with some of the remaining city's leaders and finalize a agreement between Baldur's Gate and El Terrell in hopes of ushering in a new age of peace and prosperity for both Baldur's Gate and El Terrell, and end the long tensions that have presided between the two cities. Upon speaking to the people of El Terrell, the companion darkened and began to crackle with lightning, uh, striking down at the uh, as the whole city began to shake. Um, a dark angel appeared in the shadows of the companion's light and descended upon El Terrell, condemning the city and all its inhabitants to a journey to the first layer of hell, Avernus. You, along with El Terrell and its citizens, fell through the heavens into the first circle of hell, and this is now where you reside. Um, as I said at the end of the session last week, a hot, stinging air assaults all of your senses as the motion of the city begins to settle. Um, the streets in which you're standing now are lined with buildings that are crumbling and burning. Some of them on the verge of collapse from the journey. Um, there's another shudder beneath your feet, and you all see a red, smoky sky. The companion, the 400-foot diameter sphere of darkness that is now just a pure darkness above you, is discharging more of these strokes of bluish white lightning. Sometimes, occasionally, they will strike down at the city at irregular intervals. Um, looking around you in the marketplace that has transformed through the fall, you see bodies are scattered about, and you can hear the screams of Elturel citizens throughout the city as the city burns. Out of the darkness of the companion above you, Zariel herself descends and lands on the little platform that Older had been standing upon when he was speaking to the residents of the city. And she sort of doesn't really acknowledge any of you at first. She seems to be taking in the surroundings. She sort of turns, and she has this smug, satisfied grin on her face, and she sort of turns and stares up at the companion. What are all of you feeling and thinking in these moments after the fall?
Like Sylvie's initial response is, how the hell are we still alive?
Delos just wants to kill her.
Do you have that thought?
Yeah.
Mavathor is thinking probably to himself and to Gorgoth, you are turning out to be quite the disappointment of an ally right now.
Have you removed Gargoth from the bag of holding?
Yeah, he I believe I collected him when the speech was going on, so he's currently on Mavathor's person.
Graylee's a little bit of the same as Sylvie, just a little surprised with all these dead bodies around, how we're kind of essentially unscathed after this.
You guys, from a short distance away in the plaza, the burning plaza, you hear Older Ravengard shout up at Zariel on the platform, and he says to her, "How could you have done this? All these innocent people, they didn't deserve it. You are a monster and a fiend." And, you see Zariel, gaze kind of come down from staring up at the dark companion, and she looks kind of through all of you, and she turns her head towards Older, and she takes a step down off the platform onto the stone. A bit of rubble sort of concaves and crumbles beneath her feet. Zariel's probably about 10 feet tall. You can see that currently she is clad in dark leathers. She has big black metal pauldrons on, and here and there, kind of like a half-plate armor, she's sort of covered in plates of metal. Her wings are sort of half extended, and they're like inky black voids, but sort of between the feathers, you can kind of see this. It's almost like they're burning embers that sort of flow throughout the dark wings. Her eyes, as she kind of casts them over towards Ulder, flare red, and she has this sort of half-moon halo of flame flickering above her bald head. Her skin is sort of an ashen gray color, but she's got deep black circles under her eyes and these kind of spidery black veins in her face. She's holding a large warhammer in one hand, and you can see hanging kind of draped over her belt that holds her leathered holds her sort of robes together. There's also a long flail hanging off her belt, and she steps down and takes a few steps toward Older, and she says, all of those things may be true, but I've simply claimed what was promised to me, what is rightfully mine. And, she grins down at Older. She takes a few steps in the direction of Older and Captain Lightheart. Captain Lightheart looks up at Zariel and he says, you didn't have to do any of this. The people, and she swings her mace in a wide arc, and with this sickening crack, she just slams Captain Lightheart in his jaw, and he kind of falls to the ground. Zariel says, silence, coward. I haven't addressed you yet. And, Older's kind of hangs his head down. Let me just roll how much damage he takes from that real quick. You guys see Captain Lightheart on the ground, half of his face black and swollen from the force of the blow. She turns and faces the rest of you, and Dolos, you see her eyes, her glowing embers meet your icy blue gaze, and it's quite daunting to stare into the eyes of the Archduke of Avernus. She says, good. I can feel the malice in your heart. Perhaps you will come in handy in the days to come. Uh, Silvira, she kind of leans over to you, Mavathor, and she says, I think we need to get out of here as quickly as possible.
I leaned back and said, what tipped you off?
She takes a few steps towards the group, and she stops just in front of you and Silvira. Her wings kind of do this graceful kind of, they float out behind her and kind of flap back in quite gracefully. And she looks down at you, Mavathor, and she says, "Oh, and what have we here? An old friend." And
Kind of pull up the shield and be like, oh, this piece of trash.
you hear Gargoth's voice trembling in your mind, Mavathor. Don't let her take me, please. You sense a genuine terror in Gargoth's tenor.
And he'll respond, what makes you think I can actually stop her? She's an archdevil. I'm just a tiefling.
Zariel says, Gargoth, you've been away for so long. Why don't you come out and introduce yourself to your companions? And she, you see Zariel's hand begin to, go and swing out to grab the shield from you.
He'll just hand it over. He's not about to fight her.
She, takes the shield and she sort of tosses it over in the center part of the platform she stepped off of, and she turns her back to you guys and takes another step over, and she raises one of her legs, bringing her knee kind of up to her chest, and then slams her foot down on the shield, and it kind of folds inwards and cracks, and then there's this burst of fire that shoots up in the air, and some black smoke starts billowing out from the shattered pieces of the shield, and when the smoke clears, what you all see before you is a Balor. You see a pit fiend. You see this red-skinned, leathery devil kind of crouched down. He's got his head down, and his wings kind of up over his head, cowering in a kneel down before Zariel. And Zariel says, Oh, Gargoth, I've been wondering where you've been. All these years where I could have used your prowess, your power, your influence to battle the abyssal hordes. And where have you been? Hiding on the material plane, gathering influence and power for yourself. Look where it's gotten you. Gargos, you can see like his wings kind of part a bit, and he looks up at Zariel with this pleading gaze, and he says, "Please, Zariel, I meant no offense. I was gathering souls for your cause, nothing more." And Zariel kind of gives him the Captain Lightheart treatment. She whacks him upside the head with her mace. You hear like the clatter of a few teeth hit the stones, and he like some of this flesh of his lip is hanging off, and you can see she's knocked out like some of his devil fangs, and he's got like blood dripping down his chin now onto his chest, and she says, "Lies! Always from you, Gargoth, nothing but lies." Well, there's nowhere to hide now, is there? I think that a demotion is in order. And Gargoth kind of like folds over and he says, "No, please, Zariel, anything but that." And she says, "I think you need to feel what it's like to be a lemur again." And he says, "No, I'll do anything." And she says, "Promises. Empty promises. From you. From him." And she points over at Captain Lightheart. "From the Celestials. From everyone. All that anyone respects is fear. I've been too kind to you already, Gargoth. But if you want to prove your loyalty, and then there is like another large shudder, and you feel or you hear the chains that had connected to El Terrell as it was being pulled up into the sky by the companion, rattling off in the distance. And then there's like a sounding of a horn, just one at first. It's like and Zariel's head snaps in the direction of the sound, and she turns and looks back down at Gargoth. She says, "You want my forgiveness, Gargoth? Add these mortals to my army." And then in a pillar of smoke and flame, just as another sound of the horn off in the distance sounds, Zariel disappears. And Gargoth watches the pillar of fire disappear, and stands to his full height, sort of blood dripping from his busted maw. And he turns and he looks over at the rest of you, and looks over to you, Mavathor, and he says, "Sorry, Mavathor. It looks as though our alliance is done. And I'd like you all to select your tokens and roll initiative." Ooh, nice initiative. You all can hear the sounds of the citizens of El Terrell throughout the burning city still screaming as Gargoth, the pit fiend, has been released from his prison. Older shouts at the rest of you. The beast looks injured. I must save the citizens of El Terrell. Once you've killed the creature, gather as many innocents as you can and meet me at the High Halls. We will plan what to do next from there. And he says, "Captain Lightheart, come with me." And you see Lightheart, with his face all bashed up, kind of look at the rest of you. And over to Older. And then you see that it looks like the two of them are going to turn and run west towards the High Halls to see if they can establish a foothold and start saving any of the innocent citizens of the city that might remain from the fall. Dolos, you're up.
Okay. Does Dose have any? Is there any chance that Gargoth can be persuaded with?
What do you got?
I think Dose is gonna look towards Gargoth.
I always appreciate your ambition, Dolos.
But Dose is gonna walk in front of Avathor and go to Gargoth and say, "Gargoth, why would you want to kill us? Truly, You would want to be a servant to Zariel, a slave to ambition, to order, when you could rule over Avernus yourself? I think you are led for much more powerful things. And instead of working against us, you could work with us. Truly, I'm sure you need some commanders under your belts. People to help you. With our powers combined, I think we could do some wondrous things. There's no need for you to die.
You you see Gargoth as the heavy rise and fall of his chest as you're speaking to him. He's poised there. It seems as though he's listening to you speak. Make a persuasion check.
Okay.
Do you have inspiration?
I do. Just gotta find. Okay, so I am gonna use my inspiration.
Okay.
Wow.
Gargas, well, first make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. I mean, you know, it was ambitious.
Oh no.
A
You
load
f-
of bones does not favor me today.
You feel, you know, you get this, you muster this courage, and, you know, Dolos has spent most of his life persuading powerful people to do what he wants them to do. And, you know, there's this swell of courage as you step forth to Gargoth, and even in the chaos of this environment, in the transition from the material plane into the first layer of hell, you cannot help yourself but try to persuade someone more powerful than you to bend to your will. And then this chilling fear just sort of shoots down your spine, seeping into every end of your being, and you are frightened. It's not that bad. You have the frightened condition.
At least I'm not paralyzed.
You're not paralyzed, yeah. And then Gargoth comes forward and he looks down at you and he says, kind of half garbled, with part of his face missing, there is only one thing you should fear here in Avernus. As profound as that offer was, disobeying Zariel in Avernus for our kind is death. And then he kind of goes with this good side of his maw, goes down and tries to bite you. Does 17 hit?
Yeah.
Okay. Make a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. No, it was ambitious. It could have worked.
So you
Oh.
take 20
Here's the big dice roll.
you take 20 piercing damage. And you feel this viscous poison begin pumping through your nervous system. You take also 15 poison damage, and you cannot regain hit points while you are under the effects of this poison.
Yeah, Dolos goes on one knee.
Oh,
Dolos, no.
Sylvira holds her hands out in front of her and casts Wall of Force, pushing Gargoth out of the way. This sort of translucent barrier of magic unfolds around the 5 of you. And she says, we need to make a plan now. Older and Captain Lightheart already turned towards the inner part of the city. In my study of devils and demons, this thing most likely will tear us apart. Does anybody have any bright ideas?
I have an idea. I don't think it'll likely work, but it's worth a shot.
I'm all ears.
Well, technically speaking, Gorgath and I made a deal, correct? And he promised me power in exchange for me baiting him the rays of the companion. By all accounts, he did not uphold his end of his bargain.
What kind of power did he offer you?
Nondescript, but I've attained no power thus so far.
And, did you put anything in writing with the devil?
No, but verbal contracts are completely fine, as far as I know.
You hear, Sylvira sigh deeply. She says, do you remember the infernal puzzle box that I opened in your barracks?
Mm-hmm.
That was an infernal contract. Any promise that a devil makes you that isn't in writing might as well be sand in your mouth. Just because you believe that someone might fall under this umbrella of your faith does not mean that you should take their word for things, Mavathor. Let this be your first harsh lesson here in Avernus.
Indeed. But, well, if that was worth a shot, perhaps we could have tried to get Aaron Yes to try and adjudicate this situation, but I guess that is no longer possible.
Let me just double check something real quick here. All right. Once the devil and the character agree to the terms of a deal, the agreement must be sealed with a contract, which the devil can produce as an action. The contract often appears in some theatrical manner. For example, it might arrive in a puff of smoke, accompanied by a fiendish cackle, or an imp waving a sparkler. Unfortunately, seeing as he never made such a deal in writing with Gargoth, which is probably common for him. There is no... He doesn't owe you anything.
Mm.
And thus begins a long series of betrayals for the rest of the adventure. If you were under, as a player, a different impression, let me know.
Mm.
Or if you have a... well, let's see what we can read further. Contracts take a variety of forms. The terms of the deal written out in Infernal and are made binding in one of several ways, ranging from a simple signature to a revolting act. Once all concerned parties perform the actions necessary to enter the contract, the deal is struck. Yeah, I think the two of you had mostly a loose verbal agreement. Gargoth does say, I don't know, maybe you guys can't hear him now through the wall of force.
You can speak telepathically.
Oh, that's true. You hear Gargoth's in your head, Mavathor.
Mhm.
I apologize, Mavathor, but I simply needed to be free. I know you're disappointed in me. You could join me if you liked and break your companion's concentration on her spell there. Together we could still serve Asmodeus faithfully. Once I prove my faith, my service to Zariel, and get back in her good graces, I could put in a good word for you.
Yes, words. Nothing but words. That's what I pointed out.
Would you like something in writing this time? And he does, in fact, snap his fingers, and a little imp holding two sparklers appears with a silver parchment rolling out of his mouth.
I'll respond to Gorgath that we will need time to review this contract to make sure it's fitting to our exacting needs.
You put me in a precarious position here, Mavathor. I have received my instructions. Someone here will have to die.
Actually, if I remember correctly, Zariel said you should try and induct us into the armies of hell, not kill us.
Oh, there was subtext in her words. She meant to send you all down, send your souls down into the River Styx so you could emerge as lemurs, and she could promote you as she sees fit. She has, a personal bias against mortals, you see.
Right,
I
and
can tell.
it's just happenstance that we were in Elturel when we descended down here, even though we weren't part of the binding contract that everyone else in Elturel partook in.
Well, you're not bound to serve, Elturel. You're not bound to protect it either. I suppose that might also have something to do with her orders to shorten your lifespans.
Hmm. Okay, well, I'll take the contract out of his mouth and look over it with Silvira to see what it entails.
Contract which you can read, and Infernal begins to kind of write out on the silver parchment, and it says something along the lines of, I, Gargoth, the Hidden Lord, do hereby swear that Mavathor, no harm shall come to Mavathor in this confrontation. And once I cast his companions into the River Styx, Mavathor will be granted power and position that he seeks, that our commander, Archduke Zariel of Avernus, sees fit.
Oh, pithy. That, she, chooses my fate, even though we know she has a poor disposition towards mortals.
She chooses your position.
Which just says to me she'll just turn me into a Lemure.
I know that Zariel seems cold, but she can be forgiving if you prove you're faithful and worthy.
I'll kind of bite his lip and look around and say, wait, where's Lulu?
Lulu is nowhere to be seen.
Sylvie rolled so low.
Sylvie, in the appearance of Zariel in the chaos, you believe that perhaps the sight of Zariel was maybe too much for her little mind, and she flew off and hid somewhere. Yeah, so she's doesn't seem to be anywhere in sight currently.
I'll shake his head and look to Silvire and say, you have any suggestions?
She says, I can plane shift out of here. That's why you asked me to come, as a means of escape. But I don't know if we'll have enough time to link hands so I can cast a spell. We're in quite a precarious position. She says, although it does seem that Gargoth is weak, perhaps all his time being imprisoned has softened him. It's possible that we could defeat him.
I'll look down at Dolos, who's looking really bad, and just kind of motion to him and be like, "This is your definition of weak?"
Well, weak for a pit fiend. We should probably do something about that poison. It's not going to disperse on its own. Well, we're here if you have a means to cure it.
Yeah, I'll touch Dolos on the shoulder and cast Lesser Restoration on him.
Dolos, you feel a bit of relief as Mavathor removes your poison condition.
I think Dolos gets up and clutches his side. Thank you.
Don't thank me too yet. We're not out of the situation.
You hear Gargoth in your mind say, Come, Mavathor. Let us serve Asmodeus faithfully in the Blood Wars. Your fate has already been sealed. It might as well be under the banner of the greatest commander that Asmodeus's armies have ever seen. Why such pity for these people?
Well, up to this point, they were willing to lay down their lives for me, which is more than can be said for you up to now.
Having a change of heart, questioning your beliefs.
No, my beliefs are still stalwart.
I think you'll come to find, Mavathor, that down here there's a pecking order. You've lived a soft, cushy life on the material plane. I've corrupted thousands of mortal souls. Churn them over one by one. Eventually they all end up here. What do you think it is that we do?
Oh, we uphold the law.
That's easy to say when you don't have to roll around in the mud. But you're right. We do uphold the law. And here in Avernus, Zariel's word is law. And he, bangs his hands on the wall of force a couple of times. If you're not going to join me, then let's get this over with. And he starts just banging over and over again on the wall of force.
What does Elviron say? I don't suppose you'd be willing to pray to Asmodeus with me.
She says, what kind of prayer would you have us make, Mavathor? One for our souls? We already know where they're bound.
Maybe, but I don't know, I feel like Asmodeus might be interested to know that his first commander in Nine Hells has such a soft spot, apparently. Certainly not something befitting such an important position.
A soft spot for whom?
He'll motion to Gorgath and say, I mean, think about it. This guy, this pit fiend is an abject failure. He failed in every regard. He failed to procure souls in large enough quantity for Zariel to use, and he was trapped in a shield for God knows how long. Do you really think he should deserve any amount of mercy? In the context of the complete, total, strict rulings of the Nine Hells.
There's a... all around you is just sort of a complete chaos currently. You can see that there's you can hear the chains of the city rattle louder and louder through this time that you guys have been enveloped by the wall of force. The horns have off in the distance have picked up in frequency. And the city's been sort of gently shaking, ever since Zariel has disappeared in her dramatic flash of fire. When you ask Silvira to pray with you, and you say to her what you said. There's like the dark companion above is striking down at the city, and there's this like flash of lightning that comes down from the orb, and it strikes like just behind Gargoth, and it's blinding. Like it just cracks down, and it flashes, and all of you kind of, your eyes go flash white, and you all kind of go blind, and Mavathor and Dolos when the two of you, your vision from the flash starts to sort of return, there's these just little spots flashing in your eyes, and then they kind of fade away, and there is just this inky blackness. And then there's like a dim red glow some distance away, kind of like a lantern light or something, growing a bit, starting dim and growing brighter and brighter. And as it sort of brightens, you like look down at and your feet, and you guys are standing in like a half inch of water, and this water sort of leads up to the where the lights sort of coming up, so it draws your eyes to it, and then the lights kind of like illuminate this obsidian throne, and sitting on the throne as the light kind of comes up behind it is it's a devil, and he's wearing these silken red robes, two massive horns coming out of the sides of his head, two red horns sort of coming out of the back side of his head, and then two black horns that kind of look like eyebrows, and then they kind of weep up and curve into the same shape as the other horns, and he has like a black goatee, very traditional, what you think of when you think of like the classic devil, and you see there clutched in one hand is a red rod, and the devil says, impressive speech there, Mavathor. You could likely argue with the gods.
Upon seeing the ruby rod, he'll immediately drop down to his hands and knees and stare down at the ground.
Dolos, you see the same thing as Mavathor, and you see Mavathor drop to his hands and knees.
I think Dolos just falls to his knees as he's clutching his side. I think he still keeps eye contact, though.
And Mavathor will say in a very soft-spoken tone, "You're too kind."
It sounds to me, Mavathor, that you have a firm grasp on laws and order.
I've only followed your teachings.
It sounds as though you also perhaps have a distaste for some of my methods. You don't approve of Zariel? You think she weak?
No, I mean, the proof is in what she does, but I found that she was overstepping her boundaries as the commander of the Infernal Legions.
You know, Mavathor, every so often, the cosmos gives you a gift. Zariel is a tool. Her vigor, her hatred for demons is greater than any I've ever seen. She is effective. And she has been granted her power by me.
Yes, just as you granted me my power.
Yet you question her methods. You find her unwise.
I'm not sure what to think of her, honestly, since she wasn't the subject of my studies as you were. I mean, I know of her and what she does, but as far as I knew, there was rules that we followed, and as far as I knew, the rules stated that our material plane was somewhat off limits when it came to the Blood War.
It is important for all of us that the cosmos remains in order. Sometimes that means we must bend a few rules. The abyssal hordes are relentless, Mamathor. I know that's hard to see from your position. Tell me, if I made you Lord of Avernus, how would you fight them?
Well, I'm no military tactician, so I don't think I could faithfully answer that question.
You are right, though. Gargoth stepped out of line. He spent too much time gaining favor for himself. And she should not have given him a second chance. However, much like I view Zariel as a tool, maybe she viewed him as one as well. He does have power. Power he promised you. And promises he broke. If there's one thing that I can't allow in my ranks, it's treachery.
Yes, deception is more for the roiling chaos of demons.
I can sense the loyalty in your heart, Mavathor. Loyalty to order. I know that there's a perception that The gods can see the future, but that is not so. However, I believe that you will prove useful in the Blood Wars. So I will help you. And as long as you help me in turn, I will allow you to use your companions as tools as well. So tell me the power that you seek, and we will put it in writing.
I live only to serve.
That is the correct answer. What about you? I can feel that you're only loyal to yourself, Dolos. And I can see that you've been dancing in the shadows of death. Are you certain that you've chosen the right path for yourself?
Not really. There are many paths to power.
Yes. I don't sense that you hold the same virtues as in your heart as Malithor. But that doesn't mean that you can't be used as a tool as well. So, would you like to make a deal?
What are your terms?
It depends on what you want.
Well, I want to protect the people I care about. Make sure we get out of here alive.
And you don't think that you have the power to do so?
No, I know I don't.
Asmodeus says, I can give you the power to protect your friends. But I can't promise you that we all won't be consumed by the Blood Wars. That's why you must channel your uncertainty. You must channel your fear. And you must let go of your ambition. If you want to protect your friends,
Yeah.
then all you must do is take your captain's sword and kill him with it.
Which one? Lightheart? Older?
Captain Lightheart. I can't have him muddying the mind of Zariel. I can't have him reminding her of her past.
Can I have this in writing?
He snaps his fingers, and the pimp appears with two little sparklers. He's waving. He holds up with his little clawed foot a silvery parchment, and infernal words begin to scrawl. If you don't speak infernal, you do now. And the parchment says, I, Asmodeus, Lord of the Nine Hells, protector of the cosmos, and the upholder of order in the universe, promise you, Dolos, the power that you seek to protect your friends, protect your loved ones, and to exchange your ambition for power. If you slay Captain Vorn Lightheart with his own sword,
If I may be so bold, can I ask for stipulation that Mavathor keeps this information to himself, given that he is also present? It would make my work a lot easier.
Also, not to be that guy, but didn't Vorn lose his sword on the riverboat? It got flung out of his hand and dropped into the river, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, you roll like 3 nat ones.
yeah, the way I will solve for that is that Lulu went and dove in and retrieved it for him.
Okay.
Even though we didn't role play it. Yeah, I think it's in character for Lulu.
Yeah.
And it closes my loophole. Uh, Asmodeus says, Mavathor sworn to serve, and what you must do would only sow chaos amongst your companions, who will be used by Mavathor as a tool. I remind you both that even though you sit before a god, part of maintaining order in the universe is giving you the freedom to choose.
Joe takes out a pen, dabs some of his blood in it just to be sure, and signs the contract. Dolos Grimwald.
It as you sign it, Asmodeus sort of holds up his hand, and the parchment rolls up and flies to him, and he kind of grabs it in his palm, and then it sort of like burns away. Little ashes kind of fall, and as the two of you kind of like regain your senses, that was but for the rest of the party, it was just but a few moments. Like, none of you would have been able to recognize that anything had happened. And you hear kind of as the environment of Avernus is kind of coming back up around you, as Asmodeus fades away, kind of he just kind of like extends away from you all, and the concentration on Silvira's wall of force ends, and you see Mavathor, kind of as the two of you snap back into reality, quote unquote. You see this like confused look on Silvira's face as the wall of force dissipates, and it is your turn, Mavathor. We're back in combat.
Not on the map.
I did not expect D&D to go this way tonight.
Just imagine, we still got a dragon on the way.
Oh, shit. I forgot about that. Let's see. 6:37, 8. Okay, we'll just take a little mid-session break there. Inspirations for you guys. Sorry, other half of the party, that you had to kind of be complicit, but not complicit, but that I couldn't involve you there. But we'll take a quick little 5-minute break, and we'll finish this encounter.
All right.